So imagine for a moment stepping behind the shimmering curtain of Hollywood where the lights never really go out and the stories never stop unfolding. And it is here that we find Blake Lively, whose elegance, grace, and effortless charm have made her one of the most beloved figures in the modern entertainment world from her early days in Gossip Girl, where she captured hearts with her style and sincerity, to her powerful presence on the big screen in films like The Shallows and A Simple. Favor Blake has become more than an actress. She has become a symbol of balance between art and authenticity. And while headlines sometimes swirl around her contracts, her career choices, or her next move, the truth is that behind every Hollywood deal there lies a story not just of money and fame, but of dreams, dedication, and detail. And that is what makes Hollywood such a fascinating place. It is not merely a stage for stars. It is a universe of ambition, negotiation, and creativity where each contract signed represents both opportunity and trust. And when people talk about the legal side of Hollywood, they often forget that every document and every decision is the product of years of effort, late nights auditions, and belief in oneself. And that's where the magic begins. Because even though the industry thrives on glitz, the real story lies in grit. Blake Lively's journey reflects that beautifully. She has built a career based on talent but also on intelligence, carefully choosing projects that showcase her range while also protecting her individuality beyond acting. She has ventured into fashion, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy, showing that fame can evolve into influence and influence into purpose. She has used her platform to champion causes related to children's welfare, women's empowerment, and environmental sustainability, creating an impact that reaches far beyond red carpets and magazine covers. And she is not alone in that mission across Hollywood and the wider world of entertainment. There are countless stars redefining what it means to be successful, from the United States to South Korea, from the UK to India. The modern celebrity is more than a performer. They are creators, changemakers, and storytellers, each navigating the fine line between personal and public life. Take, for example, Zendaya, whose rise from Disney beginnings to Emmy-winning powerhouse symbolizes the new generation of stars, unafraid to speak truth while dazzling the world with art. Her fashion collaborations, her advocacy for diversity, and her calm maturity make her a role model for millions. And she represents a future of fame that feels grounded, genuine, and kind. Similarly, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively's partner in both life and laughter, has shown how humor and heart can coexist in a world that often takes itself too seriously. His ventures in business, his philanthropy, and his commitment to authenticity remind us that celebrities can lead with humility while still inspiring global admiration. And when we look at Hollywood through this lens, we begin to see patterns of evolution, where stars use their platforms for storytelling, not just on screen, but in life. Leonardo DiCaprio, for instance, has built an entire legacy on environmental advocacy, turning his fame into a megaphone for the planet, while Rihanna has expanded her influence from music to business, building a brand that celebrates inclusivity and confidence with every lipstick and fabric. Choice, her Fenty empire, is not just about fashion, it is about empowerment. And when we connect these threads, we realize that the world of celebrities is a tapestry woven from passion, resilience, and constant reinvention, each story reflecting the broader truth that no one's journey is linear. Success in this world is not measured by awards or box office numbers alone, but by how stars manage to grow, evolve, and give back along the way. Even the glamorous world of fashion becomes more than surface beauty. When seen through this light, it transforms into a language of self-expression where individuality speaks louder than trends, and few understand this better than Blake Lively, whose red carpet choices tell stories of creativity, confidence, and self-respect. Every gown, every color, every silhouette chosen with intention, not just to impress, but to express. And that is what keeps fans enchanted year after year, and as we look at her and the countless others who make this industry shimmer, from afar we start to sense the heartbeat behind the spotlight. The human rhythm of ambition, anxiety, courage, and joy that unites all artists from Hollywood to Bollywood, from Seoul to London, each striving not only to be seen but to be understood. And this emotional pulse is what makes celebrity culture such an endless source of fascination. Because beyond the headlines and hashtags, these are people chasing meaning in a world that watches their every move. Yet somehow, despite the pressure, they continue to create, to love, to fall, and rise again, reminding us all that fame may be fleeting but purpose is eternal. And that is where part of the beauty lies, in watching stories like Blake Lively's unfold through triumphs and transitions. Through roles that inspire and lives that uplift, it becomes clear that celebrity is not about perfection. It is about perseverance. And in that reflection, we find a piece of ourselves. And as we drift deeper into the heart of Hollywood, we begin to understand that the world of contracts, deals, and legal frameworks is not just about signatures and clauses. It is about trust, creativity, and the fragile balance between art and commerce. Because every time an actor, a musician, or a creator agrees to a project, they are not just agreeing to a paycheck. They are agreeing to pour a piece of their soul into something that will live forever on screens and stages. And that is a kind of bravery often overlooked when we think of celebrities. We see red carpets and flashing cameras. But behind every polished moment is 1,000 unseen hours of effort, negotiation, and sacrifice. Blake Lively, like so many others, has learned to navigate that balance using intelligence, intuition, and care, surrounding herself with teams who believe in her vision while ensuring she maintains control of her voice. And that ability to preserve identity within an industry built on reinvention is an art in itself. Hollywood is filled with similar stories of stars who fought for creative control, who used their contracts not just to secure compensation, but to ensure they could tell the stories that mattered most to them. Take Taylor Swift, whose public battles for ownership of her music catalog transformed her into a symbol of artistic empowerment, or Keanu Reeves, whose reputation for kindness, professionalism, and humility has made him one of the most respected figures in film, proving that integrity can coexist with success. These are the moments when celebrity transcends fame and becomes legacy, where the details of legal work become stepping stones toward independence and impact. And as we look at these journeys, it becomes clear that every great artist walks a tightrope between passion and protection, because in the modern world of entertainment, creativity thrives only when freedom exists. And that is why so many stars have begun producing, directing, writing, and even funding their own projects, taking charge of their narratives and breaking free from outdated systems. The result is a more diverse and dynamic entertainment world than ever before, a world where women lead major franchises, where global stars break language barriers, and where digital platforms open doors for new generations. And through it all, the thread of humanity ties everything together, because fame without heart fades quickly, but passion built on purpose lasts forever. This is why the modern era of celebrity feels so powerful. It is less about idol worship and more about inspiration, about fans seeing themselves reflected in their favorite stars and learning that every dream is possible if pursued with courage and compassion. And when we explore Blake Lively's journey alongside others, we see a pattern emerge of people who refuse to be defined by a single role or title. They are evolving, constantly growing beyond labels and creating new paths where once there were none. Blake Lively's transition from television to film to entrepreneurship echoes that versatility, showing how determination and vision can transform a career into an empire. And her philanthropic work adds even greater depth to that story as she continues to use her influence for positive change, supporting organizations focused on children's rights and environmental safety. Her actions remind us that fame can serve as a force for good and beyond her. Others, like Angelina Jolie, have dedicated years to humanitarian efforts, working with refugees, advocating for equality, and using their fame as a tool for awareness and empathy across oceans. Stars like Shah Rukh Khan from India and Son Ye-jin from Korea embody similar ideals, showing that global fame can bridge cultures and bring hearts closer together in a world that sometimes feels divided. Celebrities become connectors, ambassadors of shared emotion and universal dreams. And as audiences, we respond not just to their work, but to their authenticity, because authenticity has become the true currency of modern celebrity. When Zendaya speaks about balance, when Harry Styles wears what he wants unapologetically, when Selena Gomez opens up about mental health, it sends ripples across millions of screens and hearts, reminding everyone that being real is the most powerful form of being famous. And perhaps that is why so many fans remain loyal, not to the image, but to the individual. Because beneath all the glamour lies the simple truth that celebrities are human too. They fall, they learn, they grow just like everyone else. And maybe that is what makes them so fascinating. They live their stories out loud, and by doing so, they give others permission to believe in their own journeys, from comebacks to reinventions, from quiet acts of kindness to global movements. The tapestry of celebrity culture is rich with resilience and hope. It tells us that success is not about perfection. It is about persistence, and that each challenge faced publicly is a mirror for private strength. And when we look back at Hollywood's history, we see how much it has evolved from the studio-controlled glamour of the golden age to the authentic self-expression of today, each era shaping stars who represent the spirit of their time. And now in this digital age, that spirit feels more connected than ever. Celebrities interact directly with fans, share their lives, their humor, their hardships, creating an intimacy that once was unimaginable. Blake Lively with her warmth and wit online, Ryan Reynolds with his comedic honesty, Taylor Swift with her messages of gratitude and inclusion. They all reflect this new form of relationship where the barrier between artist and audience fades away. And what remains is community and connection, and it is in that space where the truest kind of fame lives. Not in numbers or awards, but in the quiet bond between those who create and those who care. And as we continue to move through this endless universe of fame, art, and human emotion, we find ourselves not just entertained but inspired. And as the golden glow of Hollywood blends with the vibrant colors of the global entertainment scene, we begin to see that celebrity is no longer confined by geography. It is a shared language, spoken through music, cinema, and inspiration, and in this vast constellation of stars, each shines differently. Yet together, they form a sky that reminds us of creativity's limitless reach. From the bustling film sets of Los Angeles, to the shimmering stages of Seoul, from the grand premieres in London, to the electric concerts in Tokyo and Mumbai, fame today is not just an American dream. It is a universal story shaped by courage, art, and the desire to connect. And at the center of it all are artists who carry both culture and compassion in their craft, like BTS, whose journey from small studios in Korea to stadiums across the globe became one of the most inspiring success stories of modern times. Their message of self-love, unity, and perseverance transformed fan culture itself, creating a worldwide movement that transcends language and shows how music can heal and unite. And in a similar way, artists like Taylor Swift have woven storytelling into their songs, turning personal emotions into universal anthems. Her path from teenage country star to global pop icon reflects not just musical evolution, but emotional honesty. Her willingness to write about heartbreak, resilience, and rebirth makes her one of the most relatable and respected voices in the world. And alongside her, we see the rise of other strong creative women like Beyonce, whose performances redefine what it means to be powerful. Her work celebrates heritage, strength, and artistry, blending entertainment with empowerment. Her journey shows how fame can become a form of leadership, a light that guides others towards self-worth and identity, and in fashion, figures like Rihanna expand this narrative, turning beauty into belonging. Her Fenty brand celebrates every shade, every shape, and every soul, proving that inclusivity can be both revolutionary and profitable, and this kind of purpose-driven fame is what defines the modern era of celebrity. It is about aligning influence with intention, using visibility to elevate others. And when you look across continents, this pattern repeats in endless inspiring forms. Bollywood legends like Shah Rukh Khan combine cinema and philanthropy, using their platforms to build schools and hospitals for those in need. His charm, charisma, and compassion have earned him fans from Dubai to New York, while younger stars like Aaliyah Bhatt bring a refreshing honesty to their craft, proving that a new generation of actors is equally passionate about social change and artistry in Africa. Musicians like Burna Boy and Thames are breaking global barriers, fusing local rhythms with international sounds to tell stories of identity and pride. They remind us that fame rooted in culture carries a depth that cannot be manufactured. And as we move through Europe, we see the same heartbeat in artists like Dua Lipa, who merges modern pop with timeless confidence, using her fame to support refugees and mental health causes, showing that success without empathy is incomplete. And across all of these examples, we find a common thread: the evolution of celebrity into a vessel for good. And within Hollywood, this awareness has grown too, as stars embrace causes dear to their hearts, from Leonardo DiCaprio's fight for the planet to Emma Watson's advocacy for gender equality, to Keanu Reeves' quiet acts of generosity. There exists a quiet revolution within fame itself, a transformation from spotlight to service, from applause to action. And it is this shift that keeps fans not only entertained but inspired. They see their idols not as distant figures but as reflections of hope, proof that even with millions watching, it is possible to live with kindness, purpose, and grace. And within this dynamic universe, Blake Lively stands as an example of balance. She embodies how an actress can maintain family life, creativity, and compassion without losing authenticity. Her partnership with Ryan Reynolds adds to that story, two individuals who support each other's dreams while making laughter their language. They show the world that success shared with love multiplies its meaning, and their efforts to give back through charitable donations and advocacy work prove that fame used responsibly can create waves of change. And as these stories intertwine, they remind us that behind every viral headline, there lies something deeper than drama or glamour. There lies humanity. And that is what keeps people captivated by celebrity culture. Even in an age of instant news and endless scrolling, audiences crave the stories that make them feel connected, seen, understood. And the reason these narratives matter so much is because they mirror the struggles and triumphs we all experience, only magnified by the stage of fame. And perhaps that is the secret of the modern celebrity. Not perfection, but relatability. Not distance, but connection. And as the digital era continues to evolve, that bond between stars and fans grows stronger through social media, through documentaries, through live interactions, where celebrities can share unfiltered glimpses of their worlds, and fans can share gratitude, laughter, and support. And that mutual energy becomes a cycle of inspiration that feeds creativity and compassion alike. And in that rhythm, the entertainment world finds its pulse, a reminder that fame, when guided by heart, can be one of the most beautiful forces on earth. And as the curtain rises again on the grand stage of fame, we begin to notice that behind every polished smile and perfectly tailored outfit, there exists a quiet story of comeback and courage, because fame, no matter how dazzling, is never a straight line. It twists it, turns it, tests, and it teaches. And perhaps that is what makes it so fascinating, to watch the moments when stars fall and rise again stronger than before, reminding the world that resilience is the most beautiful form of strength. Take, for instance, Brendan Fraser, whose return to the big screen with a performance so honest and raw moved millions around the world. His story became a symbol of hope, that no matter how far one drifts from the spotlight, the right role, the right time, and the right faith can bring light back into one's life. And beside him in this hall of rebirth stands Britney Spears, whose voice once defined a generation, and whose journey toward freedom became one of the most talked about stories in pop culture. Her resilience, her determination to reclaim her identity, has turned her into more than a performer. She has become a movement, and the world watched with empathy and admiration as she reminded everyone that healing and happiness are worth fighting for. And as we move through these stories, the pattern becomes clearer. Fame may magnify everything, but it also reveals character, because in adversity, true hearts shine brightest. Selena Gomez, another star who has faced both public and private battles, has turned her pain into purpose through her mental health advocacy. Her openness has given countless fans permission to speak about their struggles, showing that vulnerability is not weakness but power. And in the same light, Demi Lovato continues to use her platform to inspire recovery and self-acceptance, proving that even in darkness, music can be medicine. And when we look across the spectrum of entertainment, we find similar echoes of courage from athletes like Serena Williams, who redefined what it means to balance greatness, motherhood, and determination, to actors like Robert Downey Jr., whose comeback as Iron Man became one of the most iconic stories of reinvention. His journey from personal challenges to superhero legend shows that redemption is real and that failure is never final. And then there is Lady Gaga, who transformed pain into art, turning heartbreak into hymns of self-love. Her career stands as a monument to authenticity and creative bravery, and all of these stories weave together into a single truth: that fame does not shield one from life. It only amplifies its lessons. And yet, despite the weight of expectation, the brightest stars keep giving light, refusing to be defined by mistakes or headlines, but instead by how they rise after the fall. And as we move from Hollywood to the wider world, we see that same resilience mirrored in countless global icons like K-pop sensations, who train for years facing pressure and perfectionism, yet emerge as performers of unmatched discipline and unity. Their global success is built not on shortcuts, but on sleepless nights and unwavering teamwork. And in their fans, they find purpose, their connection becoming something bigger than music, a shared heartbeat that crosses borders and languages. And in other corners of the world, film industries thrive on similar grit, from Nollywood in Nigeria to the cinemas of Mexico and France. Artists everywhere rise from humble beginnings, turning passion into legacy and reminding us that dreams need not come from privilege to reach the stars. The universal language of perseverance ties them all together, and family often becomes the silent force behind that persistence. Like the bond between Will Smith and his children, who continue to forge their own creative paths while learning from his experience, or the deep partnership between David and Victoria Beckham, whose lives show that love, when rooted in friendship, can weather fame's fiercest storms. These relationships remind us that beyond glamour, celebrities crave the same things we all do: love, stability, purpose, and connection. And in giving glimpses of those moments to the world, they remind us of our shared humanity, because even the most untouchable icons are at their core. Human beings filled with dreams, doubts, laughter, and longing. And perhaps that is why the most emotional moments in celebrity culture are not award wins or record sales, but the real unscripted moments, when the world sees the person behind the name. Moments like Taylor Swift hugging fans on tour, or Zendaya comforting a nervous co-star, or Keanu Reeves quietly helping crew members between takes. These tiny acts of grace ripple louder than any headline, showing that fame used gently can become an instrument of love. And as the world keeps changing, so too does celebrity culture, growing more transparent, more human, and more intertwined with everyday life. Through social media, through charitable causes, through art that speaks to modern struggles, stars are redefining what it means to lead in a world that values empathy as much as excellence. And perhaps that is what keeps us so mesmerized by their stories, because they show us what we could become if we faced our fears, embraced our flaws, and still dared to shine under the gaze of millions. They teach us that even when the spotlight fades, the soul's light can endure. And in that lesson, we find not only entertainment, but meaning. And as we reach the horizon of this grand story, it becomes clear that fame, like light, changes shape over time. What begins as a spark of ambition becomes a flame of influence, and if nurtured with care, it transforms into a legacy that outlives the glitter of awards and the echo of applause. Because what the modern world has taught us through these generations of stars is that the most powerful thing a celebrity can do is give back. And in that giving, they find the truest form of fulfillment. We see it in countless acts of generosity that rarely make the front page but change lives quietly every day. Like Leonardo DiCaprio funding environmental projects across the globe, helping to protect oceans and forests, or Angelina Jolie traveling through refugee camps with the same sincerity she brings to her film roles, using her platform to amplify voices the world too often ignores, or Taylor Swift writing checks to fans struggling with tuition and disaster relief, proving that gratitude is her favorite song. And Rihanna, whose Fenty empire funds education programs and humanitarian aid while reminding every person of every color and shape that beauty is not a standard but a celebration. And as these examples multiply, we realize fame at its best becomes service at its purest form. It bridges the gap between privilege and purpose and turns influence into impact. Blake Lively herself continues to embody this philosophy with her work supporting children's causes and her advocacy for ethical storytelling in Hollywood, showing that leadership in entertainment can extend far beyond the set. And her partnership with Ryan Reynolds has made charity not just a duty, but a family value, blending humor, compassion, and authenticity into every gesture they make toward the community. And this ripple effect has inspired others too. Across the ocean, we see celebrities in Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America taking the baton, stars like Blackpink, using their voices for environmental causes like clean water access in Africa, or Malala Yousafzai, collaborating with global musicians to promote girls' education, blending activism with artistry. And what unites them all is not fame itself, but what they choose to do with it in a time when the world feels divided and uncertain. These public figures remind millions that hope still sells out stadiums and kindness still trends, because in truth, humanity will always crave connection more than spectacle, and the new generation of stars rising today understand this deeply. Gen Z icons like Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Olivia Rodrigo, and BTS's younger members are proof that authenticity has replaced perfection as the currency of fame. Their openness about mental health, identity, and equality gives fans a safe space to feel seen and heard. And that transparency has transformed entertainment into empathy, turning fandoms into families, and moments of artistry into movements of change. And when we look at the trajectory of these careers, it becomes impossible not to feel inspired, because the message beneath all the glamour is simple and universal, that no dream is too distant, no setback too final, no voice too small to matter. And in that message lies the reason why the world continues to watch celebrities with such devotion, not out of envy, but out of recognition, because in their stories of struggle, triumph, love, and renewal, we see fragments of our own. And perhaps that is the real beauty of celebrity culture. It acts as a mirror, reflecting not just who we admire, but who we aspire to be. And as technology keeps evolving, connecting billions of hearts at the speed of a heartbeat, the power of a single story grows stronger. Social media has become both stage and bridge, where stars and fans exchange gratitude in real time. and this connection has rewritten the rules of fame. Now it is not about distance, but dialogue. Not about mystery, but meaning. And that shift has given rise to a new kind of celebrity, one rooted in humanity and heart. And as we close this chapter on our journey through the world of celebrities, we can almost feel the warmth that radiates from their resilience and generosity, because beneath the dazzle and drama, there is always depth. Beneath the fame, there is always feeling, and beneath every public story, there is a private soul striving to leave the world a little better than they found it. And so when we think of names like Blake Lively, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Zendaya, Leonardo DiCaprio, Beyonce, BTS, or the countless others who have colored our cultural sky, we realize they are not just stars. They are storytellers, guardians of creativity, and curators of compassion, reminding us all that success is sweetest when it is shared, that kindness is timeless, and that art is the language that binds us together through decades and generations. And as the lights fade and the cameras rest, what remains is the emotion, the inspiration, the spark that ignites within each of us, the quiet voice that says, if they can rise, create, heal, and shine, so can we. Because in the end, the world of celebrities is not a separate universe. It is a reflection of human possibility, the living proof that dreams, when fueled by love and courage, can touch the entire world and echo forever like constellations that never burn out. Subscribe for more emotional celebrity documentaries, pop culture storytelling, and inspiring journeys from stars worldwide.